What's up, everybody? Fortexfiend here, and it's that time. I'm going to be giving you guys my banner review on SD Gundam D-Generation Eternal for the newly released banners that feature BANSHEE NORN Destroy Mode, Master Gundam, and the Rival Supporter Warship. But before we go ahead and get started with that, you guys know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell so you're not missing out on future uploads, and it helps me out too. Don't forget to leave a like or dislike on this video, and comment down below what you guys think of the banner so far. What do you think of the units, the pilots, the warship, and how did your pulls go? So let's go ahead and just dive right into it. So let's take a look at the featured, because that features everything that's brand new or at a rate up. First off, you're not pulling for this SSR warship. I actually pulled this on my pull session. If you guys missed my pulls. It's an SSR warship for Mobile Suit Gundam Unicorn series units, but there's only 2. So even the free warships, I would say, are more useful than this, despite this having better stats than the SR warships. But if you pull this, it's there. It's something new for your collection, is all I could really say about it. There's nothing much for me to say. And then afterwards, Lasigna and Asuna are at a rate up on this banner, which if you're still missing this unit and its respective pilot, they're both good. Asuna especially, I've been using her in other content and other mobile suits for like different pieces of content, like for example, Master League, which had 2 particular tags. What else can she be useful for? Like Eternal Road, if the Eternal Road expert actually allows you to use pilots from like other series, despite restricting you with units from particular series. So pilot is fantastic. Unit is also pretty solid as well, especially for like a Saikamu team. Okay, so the other new things that we're going to start off with is going to be the supporter warship. So we got Kyoji and Dark Gundam, which is unique because this is our first supporter. Even though it's considered a warship, it's a Gundam. But yeah, that's it right there for you. It is energy restoration, which could have been HP. We like the HP better, but nothing wrong with that. And it is, buffing up the stats of the rival tag. This is not limited, so it's not going to be as good as, like, for example, Eternal Lacus, which we know how good that ship is. But if you take a look at the rival tag, a lot of units on there now. There's some fantastic units that you could build around with. I mean, I see Sazabi on there. We have, for example, the O. We have the new BANSHEE NORN, the new Master Gundam, Justice. So there's a pretty good slew of fantastic units that you could build your team around the rival tag. You can take this ship also to the rival Eternal Road expert. And something tells me that the next Master League might have rival featured as the tag, but we'll just have to see. But if you pull the ship, cool. But remember, it's not limited, so don't go out of your way chasing after it unless you really want the ship. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and talk about the 2 brand new units and their respective pilots. We're going to start off first with Master Gundam and save the best for last, which is BANSHEE NORN. So Master Gundam is an attacker type unit, which I find interesting because the SSR version that you could develop for free is also an attacker. But this is the UR version of Master Gundam. As you could see, in terms of its stats, especially when you consider investing fully into this unit, it has a pretty high stat of 13,972 for its attack alone, which is close to 14,000, which is pretty strong in my opinion. It has a pretty relatively decent amount of HP as well, and also good mobility. And it kind of makes sense because, Master Asia is a martial artist. This unit is pretty much like think of it as him in his Gundam form, pretty much. So they had to give it that, that martial art-esque type of performance in terms of like a mobile suit unit. And also it's from G Gundam, so why not, right? If we take a look at its mechanisms, it has defense mitigation with shield defense, always nice to have. The tags for this particular unit that stand out are Alternative Series, Rival, Specialized Unit, because there is a UR Specialized Unit ship, and also Lightning Fast. So to me, probably the tags that stand out the most are going to be Lightning Fast, because we have some other fantastic units on there as well if you want to build a team with Master Gundam and you have the ship. And then the other one that's going to be good for it now that we have it is going to be that rival ship. But those are going to be the standout tags in terms of tags for this particular unit. If we take a look at its actual abilities, its abilities or its passives, it has increased attack. It has a Vigor condition, which gets an increased critical rate by 25%, which is pretty significant. It also has critical damage boost, which increases its critical damage by 10%. So this unit is all about dealing a lot of damage and critting, which allows you to potentially deal even more damage. And the way crit functions, at least in my experience with other like RPG-like gacha games, is they tend to ignore defense, which is a good thing. So there's a lot of potential for this unit alongside its respective pilot to be able to dish out a ton of damage. So despite it being a non-limited type unit, I think it's already pretty impressive for an attacker type. Now we take a look at its skills. The ones that I'm going to highlight here are going to be its last two. So it has a 4 range attack here with 4,680 power. It is range, and it is of the special variant. No special effects, but that is a pretty decent amount of power. It does have another one, though. I think it's, Darkness Finger. So Darkness Finger is only 2 range, but what I like about this one is it has increased critical damage by 25%. So if you think about the passives that we just talked about, that's actually really good. So it's something that you could consider using if you're potentially running out of energy in combat and you need to use something and you can't use this unit's EX ability. But its EX ability is undoubtedly going to be its best skill. It has a range of up to 4 with a pretty high power of 6,840. It has a 20% critical hit rate already, which again, it's all about critting with this unit. Absolute hit. Weapon damage reduction null. So any type of weapon damage reduction, it's going to bypass right through it. And then if the closer you are to your enemy, the greater the weapon power increase, up to a 17% increase. So this is, it's going to be higher than it's going to be above 7,500 in power if you factor that in. So this unit is all about getting in your face, getting as close as possible to your opponent and dishing as much damage as possible, which I think is fantastic for the type of unit and the type of pilot that this unit is going to be using. So very, very good unit overall for an attacker. It's more of an in-your-face type of a unit, so not really playing the range game. But again, I think it's great, and it has a lot of critical damage and critical rate up, which is, definitely plays into the way that this unit is supposed to be. All right, we're going to take a look at the pilot for Master Gundam. So we're going to switch screens here for a sec. So we got Master Asia. I'm sorry. Wait, actually, you know what? Let's just get him to level 100 right now. Can we? No, we cannot. It's all good. But as you can see, his melee stat is through the roof. Probably the highest in all of the other attacker type pilots that focus on melee. And it kind of makes sense. He's a martial artist, so he should have a really high melee stat. His awakened stat is not the greatest, and neither his range, but this guy is all about getting in your face. So why focus on the other stuff? So he's a martial artist. So very, very cool. Good reaction. Unfortunately, does not have double chance step for an attacker, but that's okay. Not every attacker needs to have that. Would have been nice if he had it, yeah, but he doesn't, but it's okay. He's all about dealing a lot of damage right from the get-go. Take a look at his passives or his abilities. Increased damage dealt. If he pilots a unit of the mobile trace system, he gets increased own accuracy and evasion by 10%, which helps him to potentially survive longer since he always needs to be in your face. And if you take a look at this right here, his own Gundam is part of that particular tag, on top of other units that you could potentially use him in, but you're going to want to use him on his own unit, especially when you take a look at his EX character ability, which if he's piloting Master Gundam EX and his vigor is supercharger higher, he's going to get an additional movement by 1. So he moves up to 6 tiles, which not a lot of units can do that, and it's very important for the way that this character plays with his respective unit because it wants to get in your face. So that added movement is great. Very, very cool passive. And also he has Dark Gundam Army, where if he's piloting a unit of that tag, he's getting increased damage dealt and another increased critical rate, which means this guy is getting already 40% increased critical rate, which is crazy if he's piloting his own unit. And yes, UR Master Gundam is part of this tag, which is crazy. So this guy's all about critting and dealing a ton of damage right off the bat. He has MP increase. What more could you ask for? Boost critical. So if you use this and he's in his own Gundam, what is that? An 85% chance to crit, which is crazy. So again, think of the numbers there. And then he does have sway, which is good. So that way, if you think you're not going to survive an incoming counterattack, also the fact that, he's primarily melee, so his maximum range is 4. So if there's a unit that's hitting him with a range of 5, at least you could evade and that way protect him from damage. But all in all, I think for a non-limited pilot, and a non-limited attacker type unit, there's a lot of potential for this pairing. And if you guys are missing out on an attacker type unit that's more in your face, might want to consider trying to go for this one, especially if you're lacking some sort of a unit that focuses on that type of damage. But all in all, I think that Master Asia and his Master Gundam are fantastic for being an attacker type unit. Okay, the star of the show, BANSHEE NORN Destroy Mode. One of the highlights about this unit is that it is our first UR defensive type unit. From the past, a lot of the ones that we've seen are either an attacker or an escorter. This is going to be our first defender, which is great. That's limited. So remember, once this banner leaves, you have to wait for this particular unit to be featured again. He's not going to be on the future banners. Right off the bat, take a look at that. 144k HP. That's a lot of HP. Probably the highest in terms of all of the UR defensive units. Great defense, good mobility, good attack, and good movement, which is important for a defensive type unit. It has the shield mechanism, which is fantastic. Mitigation is always good, and it's a defender. If you take a look at the tags, you see Series, Rival, Test Type, Saikamu, EFSF, and Tough as Nails. Those are a lot of fantastic tags. Tags that either a lot of, certain pilots focus on, or a lot of UR warships you can think of building parties. For me personally, I think the tag that I like to focus on is Saikamu, because Saikamu also has units such as Zeta. We got Zeta on there. We got Sazabi. We got the Hainu Gundam. We even have the Unicorn Gundam on there. So if you're building a party around this particular unit and you want to focus on a tag, I personally recommend Saikamu. But if you guys think that Tough as Nails, Test Type, or Rival is just as good, you let me know. But great tags on this unit. Let's take a look at its actual abilities. Increase max HP. That's why it has 144k health at MLB. Eye Field level 3 reduces damage taken by beam range as long as it doesn't have weapon damage nullification by 50%. That's pretty crazy. That's a lot of mitigation. So this unit has a lot of potential to survive. And it also has increased own accuracy and evasion by 10%, which is even better. So that way this unit has a potential chance to just naturally evade. And increased accuracy means that you don't have to be overly concerned about its attacks, particularly, with attacks missing, as long as they don't use sway or something like that. Okay, weapon skills. Beam Tonfa is the one that's going to be unique to this one until they release a unit that can also do this, but it has a brand new debuff where the max range of beam weapons is decreased by 1. This is quite powerful if you strategize it properly, not only for, well, PvP is kind of a mixed bag, but there's a lot of units that are of the UR variant that have EX weapons that are beam. So you could potentially use this debuff as long as the enemy, as long as the AI decides to use it in Master League, on the opposing unit. The only problem with that is that it only has a range of 1, unfortunately. So Banshee needs to be in your face to use this. However, for PvE, there's a lot of easier ways to use this. And again, since it's decreasing the range by 1, it allows for better positioning, better safety for your units. So that way they're not getting counterattacked by a longer ranged beam weapon. Now, its other skill that I want to highlight is going to be Revolving Launcher EX. It has a respective power of 6,120. It has a range of up to 4, which is pretty good. Absolute hit, weapon damage reduction null, and inflicts attack down 35%, which is always nice to have that debuff, because 35% attack down, can mean the difference of, am I going to survive or am I potentially going to die? So very, very good debuff, especially for harder content. So all in all, for a defensive type unit, I'm seeing a lot of mitigation. I'm seeing a lot of bulky defense. It also has its own way to be able to be evasive and have better accuracy, which is good. And then that brand new debuff is pretty cool. Just remember, it does only have a range of 1. So if you want to use it, gotta be up in close. But however, the pilot kind of helps you do that, because if you take a look at this, right? I'm going to take a look at the pilot now. So Riddhe Marcenas, right off the bat, double support is great. His stats for a defensive type unit, I was comparing him to the other ones. For example, I compared him to Jonah and also Mika, because there are other defender pilots. They're pretty relative to each other, but because he is limited, he is naturally going to be slightly better. There is one thing that he lacks compared to the other defensive pilots that we've seen, and if you take a look at his skills, he has both the Force Guard and the better versions of Sway. And Sway, I think, is important. I think they gave him Sway because if you want to use that unique debuff that his unit currently has, and you don't want to get counterattacked, I think that's the reason why they gave him that. So then that way, he has a way to potentially survive, and then you could focus more on being defensive with the unit while inflicting that debuff. But he's lacking an HP restoration, which I think could have been better than Lock-On, because he already has increased accuracy, and we'll take a look at his passive soon, because he has that with that too, but I think they did that to balance him out. So, in my opinion, it's kind of a toss-up. I think he's objectively slightly better than Jonah and Mika, but they have ways to heal HP, whereas he doesn't. But his other two abilities are great. That's what I have to say about it. His other two skills are great. Now, talking about his passives, he has support defense, and he increases his own defense by 25% when he's piloting a durability type. If he's using a unit of NT-T, his own accuracy and evasion gets another increase of 10%. So that's 20% evasion if he's piloting a unit of that tag. And take a look at what's on there. His own unit, which you're going to want to use him in his own unit. Or if you want to use him in those other two, you can do that as well. And then his EX character ability gives him another support defense. And if he's piloting an NT-D, increased defense by 15%. Again, beefy defense. And then if he's also piloting an EFSF, which BANSHEE NORN also has that tag, he gets reduced damage taken by 15%. So this thing is going to be extremely hard to take down, whether it's PvE or whether it's PvP. And I do think as a pilot, objectively, he is better than the other ones that we currently have. The only thing that is lacking with this particular pilot is no HP restoration. If he had that instead of the lock-on, I think it definitely would have been better. But they had to balance it out, so then that way you don't have a pilot that's incredibly OP compared to some of the other ones. So all in all, what are my thoughts on this banner? I think for our first defender unit, this is an excellent choice if you're looking for not only a good defender unit, but also a good pilot. Remember, they are limited. They will leave and won't come back until they feature them again. So if you're lacking defensive type units, if you don't have, for example, Mika, if you don't have Jonah, or if, even if you have both of them, I think having another defender pilot is great. But if you're satisfied with those two, I think you could safely skip on this banner. Master Gundam again for a non-limited is great. Lots of damage, lots of crit damage, very in your face, has MP up. But again, if you already have a lot of great attacking units, and if you prefer like range damage more, then you could probably also wait on Master Gundam. Also because he's going to be featured again on other banners because he is a non-limited unit. All in all, solid banner overall. I don't think it's the best banner that we've had thus far, but it does have some pretty good options if you are lacking particular roles. Again, if any of these units are your favorites, you're going to pull because it's a favorite over meta thing. Or if you're a whale and pull for everything, then you're probably going to pull on this banner. But if you're content with certain things that you already have, I say continue to save. Continue to save for the actual unit that you want more that has not out yet. Especially right now, they're still tweaking that diamond economy. And we're still hoping that we're finally going to get that battle pass that they talked about. And also hoping that they do give us a bit more diamond rewards in terms of like a story and things like that. But let me know what you guys think down below. Did you guys pull? Do you guys think this banner is good? Do you think it's overrated? Do you think it's just meh? Love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. Thank you guys again for watching. Stay tuned for the next video and stay blessed, everybody.